right, so first let's talk about nutrient sufficiency. We need nutrient sufficiency across the board, which means that we need to be eating a nutrient-dense real food diet. So nutrient sufficiency, I would define it as a level of nutrients that is above a deficiency amount, like RDA. I think that's the bare minimum for most nutrients, and below an excess amount, which with some nutrients you can run into some toxicity levels. Now, the beautiful thing is that if you're eating real food, you don't really run into the problem of toxicity of excess nutrients. But this is where blood work can come in handy, and you can see different nutritional values. And again, blood is very transient, so it's something that you have to take with a grain of salt, but it can be very, very useful. And just give you maybe some guidelines as far as some basic things that you want to make sure that you focus on specific foods or specific nutrients. But if you're eating a nutrient-dense real food diet, the one that we recommend with animal foods as a priority, traditional fats as a priority, and then nutrient-dense vegetables and some greens as a priority. If the majority of your meals look something like this picture right here, or some combination of that, then over time you are going to become nutrient sufficient, probably. Now, we do recommend some strategic supplementation, and we talk about that throughout the year. There's certain things that we know we're probably not getting enough of just from eating real food because of the way that we eat real food in this modern world that we're in. Things like collagen, very beneficial, but we'll talk about some specific things here. But real food has to be the focus and the base. Now, when it comes to specific nutrients, let's say that you're low in a nutrient, you're deficient in something. Sometimes it can take up to 4 months of consistent eating of a certain food or consistent taking of a supplement before you can become nutrient sufficient. And I think some of us have probably had that experience. Maybe your D levels are low and you're taking some D for a consistent period of time. It takes a significant period of time to become nutrient sufficient, which is why it's so important to eat a nutrient-dense diet all year long and focus on health all year long, because it can't happen overnight. So let's talk about some specific nutrients. And I'm sorry that this is kind of text heavy, but I just was trying to figure out a way to put some pictures in here, but I thought it would be useful for us. So vitamin C, also known as ascorbic acid, sometimes you'll see it as an ingredient on some food products because it's a good preservative. It's a water-soluble vitamin, which means it does not have to be taken with fat. It does not have to be eaten with food. You can't take it on an empty stomach. It's found in a lot of fruits and vegetables, a little bit of animal foods, not very much. Can act as an antioxidant. It's actually one of the few things that I would consider a true antioxidant. It does neutralize free radicals. Glutathione would be another one. Vitamin E would be another one. Other things, I don't think they're actually antioxidants. I think they just promote antioxidant activity. It's used to synthesize some other nutrients inside the body, so things like collagen. So we know that collagen is so important and so beneficial because the majority of our body, the proteins in our body, 33% is estimated as collagen matrix based. And vitamin C is necessary for the creation of collagen from other amino acids. It's needed for the production of other compounds such as L-carnitine and other neurotransmitters. It acts as an antioxidant in the body, helping to prevent the buildup of free radicals. And it's one of the most well-known nutrients that can promote immune health, okay? And a big reason for that sometimes is some people are deficient in it, all right? So the recommendation here for nutrient sufficiency over time is gonna be maybe about 200 milligrams per day, up to a max of 4 grams, all right? That's a lot of vitamin C. You know that you've reached too much because some people do have a bowel tolerance with it, just like we would with magnesium. I have some products that I'm going to be promoting here because I am such a big believer in biotics. And then there's some things I recommend people get on Amazon. But I did a video on digestion. I'll talk about it here in just a moment. And I talked to the owner the other day, which is really cool. I called and asked about some of the glandulars they offer, some of the organ glandulars. And we just had this awesome discussion. That company's been around since the 1970s. They acquired a biomedical component of a pharmaceutical company because they had patented this way to create supplements that used real food as a tableting base versus something else. And so they're like this really weird, awesome combination of science and ancestral, because they're one of the few companies I know that offers organ supplements. And I've been through a tour of their facility, and they're just top notch. So I didn't mean to go off on that tangent about biotics, but I absolutely love them. And sometimes I feel bad about recommending supplements because I don't know if people are thinking, oh yeah, he's just trying to sell me something. I'm not just trying to sell you something. I take this stuff, and I would prefer for you to get it from me because I can help monitor your progress with it. The price that I offer this stuff is going to be equal to or cheaper than what's on Amazon. If you find something, then I'll price match it. And then you get a fresh potency because I get it straight from their warehouse. But I'm not doing that to sell product. I'm doing it because I believe in it. And if I'm going to sell something, I'm not going to send you to some CVS freaking Costco brand that is not going to do anything for you. I'm going to recommend something that's a very, very high quality product. And I've used many what would be considered therapeutic lines over the years. Biotics, Apex Energetics, Standard Process is a good one. And I just love Biotics. Like I said, I called and I talked to the freaking owner that founded the company in the 1970s. He's still there and he answers some of my questions. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, so some of us are already using this BioC Plus. I think it's a good, solid maintenance product for the majority of the year. Now, there's a product I'm going to talk about today called Bioimmunozyme Forte. It is the premier immune support supplement in the holistic industry, like the whole holistic supplement industry. I'll talk about everything that's in it, but it's pretty awesome. It's got 200 milligrams of vitamin C in it. So those are two really good options. And you can also just eat a bunch of citrusy fruit on a regular basis. But keep in mind, a lemon is going to have somewhere around maybe 35 milligrams of vitamin C. Okay. Might want to eat a lot of lemons to get to that point. All right. Now, let me see if we got anything here. No, we're doing good. Vitamins A and D, crucial nutrients. Vitamins A and D, like they're synergistic with each other. I don't know, some of us may have heard of vitamin A toxicity or the potential for it. All right, it doesn't happen when you're eating a balanced real food way of eating. You're eating animal foods, traditional fats. They usually come packaged together anyway in Mother Nature. But vitamin A and D, and we're talking about the animal-based versions of these things, if you can. And I have full respect for people that eat a different way. Chandler is a vegan that does a lot of smart strategic supplementation here, but ideally you're getting these things in a form the body can use very easy. So vitamin A would be retinol. There's a couple of versions of retinol that are absorbable. Biotics experiments with packages of them. And then vitamin D, we're looking for the D3 version. D2, not super useful inside the body. It can be converted to D3. We can get D3 from sun exposure. So anyway, these are fat-soluble nutrients. That means that these need to be taken with food if you're taking them as a supplement. And of course, if you're getting it from real food, it's probably already packaged with fat anyway. Again, they have to be taken together. They need to be balanced. They don't have to be taken in the same meal together, but like over time, they need to be taken in balance, okay? Vitamin D modulates the immune system. It's really fascinating. I don't know how much specifics you want on this, but I can send you a bunch of different resources. It's just really interesting how the receptors of a lot of these immune system cells depend on vitamin D to function properly and not to be overstimulated. It enhances the pathogen fighting effects of monocytes and macrophages, which we talked about a while ago, which are part of the innate immune system, some of the white blood cells, and it helps decrease inflammation and promote a very healthful immune response versus an overactive immune response or a very weak immune response. So vitamin A, as we all probably heard, is very crucial in growth and development, and also it's a part of the epithelial integrity of the gut. So without vitamin A, we're not going to have very good gut integrity, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. So some crucial nutrients. Could probably talk for hours about those two things. And so ideally what we're looking for is a 2-to-1 ratio of A to D. That should be A to D, not A to D. A to D, or maybe a 1-to-1 ratio, if you're in taking supplementation. So you're looking at maybe like 1,000 IUs of A versus 500 IUs of D. And actually, I think those are really good values, by the way, for nutrient sufficiency over the year. I usually take a 2,500 IU D3, and I'm going to start to back that down to like 1,000 or 500. But if you're looking for an immune boosting effect, you can bump that up to like 1,000 or 2,000, 1,000 or something along those lines, right? The best food sources of vitamin A and D are going to be liver, cheese, meats, and animal foods in general. And then you can also supplement with some virgin cod liver oil. Virgin means that it's pristine. Ideally, the heat processing is very minimal. You're pressing livers. It's almost like a cold pressing, like you'd press some coconuts or something like that for coconut oil. And that means that you're not running the risk of oxidizing some of the delicate fats in it. And so my favorite two brands are going to be Rosita and Droppy, and love both of them. I feel like I noticed like my cracked heels heal up easier and better when I took Droppy. So I'll make sure that you guys have resources for those. So if you're taking a virgin cod liver oil, you're getting vitamin A and vitamin D packaged together in balanced amounts already. And then you're also getting EPA and DHA, which are anti-inflammatory. Or you can take this product, again, I'm going to talk specifics about it, called Bioimmunozyme Forte, and it's got a really high level, not really high, but it's got like 2,000 IUs of vitamin A. And then because it's in a capsule, we recommend taking a separate D3 product because D3 just does better in liquid form and with some fat soluble, with it. Okay, so I think that's all I want to say about vitamin A and vitamin D. All right, now another nutrient is zinc. We've heard the benefits of zinc. We heard it's very immune boosting. So it has a lot of different functions inside the body. It's the second most abundant trace mineral next to iron. It's needed for the immune cell development. It's needed for proper function of the immune cells, including accurate communication. So it's involved in the communication of cells in general, but specifically the immune cells depend on it a lot. All right, and of course we've probably heard, some of the best food sources are going to be oysters, lamb, beef, yogurt, and animal foods in general. There's going to be some zinc in some plant foods, especially Chandler, like nuts and seeds. We just want to make sure those nuts and seeds are properly prepared. You can also take it in supplemental form. The RDA, I think for most people, is somewhere around 8 milligrams of zinc per day. So I'd say, and then they change that for women and men depending on your age. So what I'd say is a good ballpark is maybe like 10 milligrams per day for most people for nutritional sufficiency. And that means you're just consuming that much most days to build up this nutritional sufficiency. For more acute boosting during the season, you may look for something like, man, I messed my slides up, like 40 milligrams or 30 or 40 milligrams. All right, so the best food sources, again, we talked about oysters and animal foods and maybe some nuts and seeds. I have a really good product called Zinc Forte, and let me see if I have how much is on that. That's 25 milligrams in one tablet. So that would be something you take per day. And then Bioimmunozyme Forte actually has, if I'm not mistaken, 30 milligrams of zinc. So more than enough. That's an acute immune boosting effect. Okay. All right. Now, that is the main things that I want to talk about when it comes to nutrient sufficiency. Eating a real food way of eating and doing that all year long with a focus on nutrient density. Remember, we have our basic rules around carbohydrates. Ideally, you're minimizing the amounts. They're from real food sources. But the majority of your foods need to be animal foods, traditional fats, nutrient-dense vegetables, maybe some full-fat dairy in there if you tolerate it. Those are going to be the things that contribute to nutritional sufficiency throughout the year. And then especially during this cold and flu season, we may want to consider just upping some of those nutrients. We just talked about vitamin C, vitamin A and D, and zinc. I'm not saying there's anything else about that. Yeah. All right. Those would be the main ones. Now, you'll read a lot of blog posts out there that talk about a bunch of other nutrients. I don't think it's very practical or very useful. Okay. Cool.